Brooke Shields trusted a Beverly Hills surgeon with a simple procedure. 4 hours later, she woke up and went home thinking everything was normal. Then, at her follow-up appointment, the doctor smiled and told her about the bonus he had added, without asking, without consent. He called it a 2-for-1 deal. She sat there in shock as he described changes to her body she never agreed to. For years, she kept silent because she feared what the tabloids would do with the story. In 2025, at 59 years old, she finally told the truth. What he did was worse than anyone imagined. Brooke Krista Shields was born on May 31, 1965, in New York City, and her life was complicated almost right away. Her mother, Terry, had been a model, and her father, Frank, worked as a Revlon executive. The marriage did not hold. Frank's wealthy family did not even want the baby, and while Brooke was still tiny, her parents split. So it became Terry and Brooke against the world, living with big dreams and not much stability. Terry saw Brooke's face and understood what it could do in front of a camera. She treated it like a door that could open everything. At the same time, Terry was fighting her own struggles, and that mix changed the air in their home. Some days were full of plans and promises, and other days were ruled by mood swings and drinking. Brooke was not just a child in that house. She was also the one trying to keep things from falling apart. Still, the work came quickly. Before Brooke was even 1 year old, she was picked for an Ivory soap ad, and people on set noticed how calm she was. She did not cry like the other babies. She looked straight into the lens like she belonged there. The pay was small, but the effect was huge, because once the industry sees a child who can do the job, it does not stop calling. Soon, she was in ad after ad. By the time she was 5, her schedule was not like a normal kid's life at all. It was long days, constant auditions, and grown-ups praising her like she was a tiny adult. And when her mother leaned harder into managing, the pressure got heavier too. Brooke later described moments where she felt like the responsible one, cleaning up problems and trying to make life look normal from the outside, even when it was not. As she got older, the line between child and product started to blur. She signed with major agencies, and then came the fashion world, with its bright lights and strict expectations. She appeared in big magazines while still very young, and people talked about her in a way that did not match her age. The attention brought money and fame, but it also brought something darker, because adults kept trying to sell a grown image before she had even lived a childhood. That tension exploded when controversial photo work from her childhood followed her into her teen years. She tried to stop it later through the courts, but the decisions made when she was a minor were treated as binding. It left her carrying a kind of anger that does not fade easily, because it was not just about pictures. It was about control, and about how often she was not the one deciding what happened to her. Then acting arrived, almost like the next step people expected. In 1976, she appeared in the film Alice, Sweet Alice, and it showed she could do more than pose. She could hold a scene. That should have been a clean beginning, but the storm was already close, because her next major film role would turn her into a headline instead of just an actress. Pretty Baby came in 1978, and even saying the title still brings the old argument back to life. The film caused outrage for placing a very young girl inside a story built around adult themes. People fought over whether it was art or something worse, and the noise got so loud it swallowed the person at the center of it. Brooke was still a kid, walking into premieres and interviews while adults shouted about what she represented. You can almost picture it, cameras flashing, grown-ups debating morality, and this young girl learning that fame can feel like being trapped in a room where everyone talks about you, but not to you. Her mother defended these choices in public, with a sharp voice and no hesitation. That only added fuel, because the more Terry fought, the more the world watched. And Brooke kept moving forward anyway, because when you have been working since you were a baby, stopping can feel impossible. Work becomes the road you walk on, even if you do not like where it leads. A couple of years later, the Blue Lagoon made the same kind of noise, and again it centered on her youth in ways that made people uncomfortable. The production used stand-ins and careful filming choices for the most sensitive moments, but the controversy did not care about behind-the-scenes details. The public only saw what it wanted to see, and Brooke's name stayed tied to debates she never asked to start. Filming itself was exhausting, with heat, isolation, and long days, and it became another chapter where her body and her age were treated like part of the marketing. Then came the Calvin Klein jeans ads in 1980, and the country reacted like someone hit a match near gasoline. The famous line made people argue instantly, some calling it bold and others calling it wrong. Networks pulled the commercials in places, complaints poured in, and yet the brand benefited from the attention. Brooke, still young, was learning a hard lesson in real time. Sometimes the world will criticize you loudly and still use your image to make money. In the middle of all that, she also tried to show she was more than the controversy. She went on shows that let her be funny and light. She proved she could host, perform, and hold her own without leaning on shock. Those moments mattered because they gave the public a glimpse of the real person, not just the symbol everyone kept arguing about. Her later teen roles kept testing that boundary between story and spectacle. Endless Love pushed into intense territory and was heavily edited to meet ratings rules. And stories from the set added to the discomfort people already felt. Even when a project made money, it often left her carrying another quiet weight. Then films like Sahara and Wet Gold brought physical danger instead of cultural outrage, with stunts, harsh locations, and moments that could have gone truly wrong. The risks changed shape, but they never fully left. Meanwhile, her modeling career became huge. She walked runway after runway, landed major covers, and earned amounts that would have been shocking for most adults, let alone a teenager. That success gave her something important, though. It gave her a path to independence. It meant she could build a future that was not only controlled by the people who first pushed her into the spotlight. And then she did something many people did not expect. She went to Princeton and treated education like a way back to herself. She studied, wrote, and tried to understand her own story with a clearer mind. Years later, she would speak more openly about the way the media and the industry shaped her, and how early fame can steal pieces of a childhood without asking. As an adult, she began to reclaim the narrative. She talked about her mother's control and her mother's addiction, not with easy blame, but with honesty about the damage and the love tangled together. She also supported stronger protections for child performers, because she knew what it felt like when adults made choices, and the child had to live with them forever. In the fall of 1983, something surprising happened. Brooke Shields, one of the most famous young faces in the world, packed her bags and walked into Princeton University as a regular student. At that time, people knew her from films like Pretty Baby and The Blue Lagoon. She had magazine covers, huge fame, and constant attention. Yet she chose to study Romance languages and literature instead of chasing another big movie role. At first, she lived in the Matthey College dorms, hoping college life would feel normal. But normal never lasted long around her. Students soon realized that strangers were offering money just to spy on her. Some tried to photograph her through the bathroom grates while she showered. Others waited outside buildings hoping to catch her on a date. The campus that should have felt peaceful slowly turned into a strange mix of college life and constant watching. For safety, she eventually moved to an apartment near Palmer Square. Even with all that noise around her, she stayed focused on school. By the time she reached her senior year, she wrote a thesis called The Initiation: From Innocence to Experience. In it, she analyzed the films of Louis Malle, including Pretty Baby, the same movie that had started her fame when she was very young. Instead of letting people reduce the film to scandal, she studied it seriously and explained how it explored deeper ideas about growing up and identity. The work earned honors. Some people in admissions had once wondered if she would even finish college because of her modeling career. But she proved them wrong and graduated in 1987 with strong grades. The tabloids did not make it easy. Many of them liked calling her a dumb blonde. At one point, they even printed her college transcript just to mock the classes she had not taken. But Brooke ignored the noise. During some semesters, she was walking 40 fashion runways, while also sitting in demanding French literature seminars. Princeton slowly showed people another side of her. Under the fame was a student who loved reading and learning. Life on campus also gave her moments of real normalcy. She joined the Cap and Gown Eating Club after some debate among members about whether her fame would bring too much attention. She acted in Triangle Club theater shows and laughed with classmates backstage. During those years, she quietly dated a young football player named Dean Cain. Their relationship stayed private for 2 years, and he became her first serious boyfriend. Her mother still kept a close eye on things, which sometimes made the relationship slow and careful. But it was still a big step toward independence. College was not always smooth, though. During her first year, she tried out for the student dance group called Expressions. She thought she might fit right in. Instead, she failed the audition badly. It hurt more than she expected, and for a while, she felt crushed. But she did not quit. She spent the summer taking dance classes and training harder. The next year, she tried again, and finally earned a place in the group. That moment taught her something important about failure and patience. Her classmates often helped protect her when attention became too much. Friends walked with her across campus when strangers followed her to lectures. Paparazzi waited outside buildings hoping for photos, but inside the classrooms, she felt something different. Fame did not matter there. She could speak in discussions, laugh with friends, and feel like another student. During those same years, she also kept working in film. In 1986, she shot a movie called Brenda Starr, playing a fearless comic book reporter. The production became messy because of legal fights and demands from her mother over contracts and rights. The film was delayed for years and finally released in 1989, long after she had graduated. When it finally appeared in theaters, it failed badly at the box office. Critics were harsh and called it a disaster. Still, for Brooke, the experience meant something else. It showed her that acting did not define her whole life anymore. She had already begun to see herself as more than the image people had created. Princeton also gave her space to form her own opinions about the world and the people around her. One strange chapter involved Michael Jackson. He admired her deeply and often invited her to events, even taking her to Elizabeth Taylor's wedding. He sent sparkling rings and told her she shined like he did. Over time, he even proposed marriage more than once. Brooke did not see him that way and made it clear their relationship was only friendship. When he later suggested publicly that they had secretly dated, she felt angry and shut the rumors down. Through all of this, Princeton became a kind of safe ground. It gave her distance from the chaos of childhood fame and from the constant control of her mother. By the time she walked across the stage in 1987 with her degree, she was no longer just the girl from famous movies. She had become a confident graduate who knew her own mind. Years later, another unexpected moment would change her career again. In 1996, she appeared on the hit sitcom Friends. She played Erica Ford, a wild fan who believed Joey Tribbiani was actually his soap opera character, Dr. Drake Ramoray. In one scene, Joey dips his hand into a cup of latte foam. Erica grabs his hand and slowly licks it clean like it is the most romantic thing in the world. The moment was so strange and funny that audiences burst out laughing. The episode aired right after the Super Bowl, and millions of people watched. Executives at NBC suddenly saw something new in Brooke. She was not just a dramatic actress from old films. She was genuinely funny. Soon after that appearance, the network rushed to build a sitcom around her. That show became Suddenly Susan. It premiered in September 1996 and told the story of Susan Keene, a glamorous San Francisco magazine writer who leaves her rich fiancé at the altar and starts building a new life at a magazine called The Gate. The show aired between two massive hits, Seinfeld and ER. The first episode drew around 30 million viewers. Suddenly, Brooke Shields was not only famous again, but also one of television's biggest stars. Across 4 seasons, the show produced more than 90 episodes. Brooke earned 2 Golden Globe nominations for Best Actress in a comedy series, and even won a People's Choice Award for Favorite New Female Performer. Audiences loved watching Susan deal with chaotic co-workers, demanding bosses, and awkward dating adventures. Behind the scenes, her personal life was just as dramatic. During that same period, tennis superstar Andre Agassi proposed to her during a sunset in Hawaii with a large diamond ring. Their relationship had already seen tension, though. When he watched her Friends episode and saw the scene where she licked Joey's hand, jealousy hit him hard. In a burst of anger, he later drove to Las Vegas and smashed several of his own tennis trophies. The incident shocked Brooke and led to serious fights between them. Even while starring in a popular sitcom, she kept experimenting with different kinds of roles. In the dark indie film Freeway, she played a troubled mother named Mimi, who struggles with addiction and chaos while trying to protect her daughter. The role looked nothing like the glamorous characters people expected from her. The film did not make much money in theaters, but it slowly gained a cult following and proved she could handle darker stories. Around the same time, she appeared in several unusual independent films. In The Misadventures of Margaret, she played Lily, a bold woman who sparks a complicated relationship with another writer in Paris. In Black and White, she played a mother struggling to understand her daughter's life inside the hip-hop scene of New York. In the romantic comedy The Bachelor, she appeared as an eccentric woman chasing love in a story full of chaos. None of the movies became big hits, but they showed she was willing to step outside the safe image of a sitcom star. Her relationship with Andre Agassi continued moving quickly. The two married in April 1997 in a beautiful ceremony at St. John's Episcopal Chapel in Monterey. The wedding looked like a fairy tale at first. A choir sang and close friends gathered to celebrate. But even that day carried chaos. Paparazzi helicopters circled above the chapel, while crowds gathered outside hoping to catch a glimpse of the famous couple. Their marriage lasted only 2 years. Later, Agassi revealed that during that time, he had secretly struggled with drug addiction and even failed a tennis drug test. Brooke did not learn about many of those details until much later. The pressure of fame, jealousy, and personal struggles eventually pulled the relationship apart, and they divorced in 1999. Brooke Shields had always taken care of her body. By 2021, she was 55 and in incredible shape, working out almost every day in a New York City gym. On February 21st, she walked into the gym like it was any normal morning. She moved through her routine and eventually stepped onto a balance board to do core exercises, something she had done many times before. Then, in a split second, everything changed. Her foot slipped. She fell hard and landed in a strange angle. In that moment, she heard a sharp crack. Her right femur, the strongest bone in the human body, snapped completely in half. The pain rushed through her body instantly. It was so intense that she screamed louder than she ever had before. Later, she said the sound that came out of her was even louder than when she gave birth. The gym went silent as her leg twisted in a way that should never happen. Emergency responders rushed in and placed her on a stretcher. As they carried her out, she kept repeating the same words over and over. She kept yelling that she could feel her toes. She was terrified she might be paralyzed. Doctors at the hospital confirmed the worst. The femur was completely broken. They rushed her straight into emergency surgery that lasted 6 hours. Surgeons inserted 2 long metal rods from her hip down into her leg to hold the bone together. It was a massive operation, but the bone was still unstable. Even after the surgery, she faced a long, painful recovery. 2.5 weeks later, she finally returned home to begin rehabilitation. At first, it seemed like things were slowly improving, but then something frightening started to happen. Her leg began to swell, and the pain came back stronger than before. Doctors discovered a serious staph infection growing around the surgical area, possibly from the IV lines used in the hospital. The infection quickly became dangerous. There were fears it could turn into MRSA sepsis, which can be deadly. Doctors immediately flew her back to the hospital for another emergency operation. This second surgery also lasted 6 hours. Surgeons added 5 more rods and a steel plate across her hip to stabilize the bone. She also needed 3 blood transfusions while doctors fought the infection spreading through her body. The pain during that time was something she later described as a slow-motion scream. Her body burned from the infection, while metal hardware held her shattered bone in place. Even with that level of pain, she made a decision that surprised many people. She refused opioid painkillers because she feared addiction during a time when America was already facing an opioid crisis. Instead, she pushed through the recovery with brutal physical therapy. At first, she could only put 20% of her weight on the injured leg. Each step had to be relearned slowly with crutches. X-rays she later shared showed a shocking image. Her thigh looked like a cage made of metal rods and plates. For weeks, she could not stand on her own. She honestly wondered if she would ever walk normally again. The helpless feeling shook her deeply because she had spent her whole life pushing through problems. This time she admitted something she had never said before. She told People magazine that she felt paralyzed, not just physically, but emotionally. Recovery dragged on for months. Her muscles weakened, and she dealt with constant flashbacks of the fall. But slowly, she rebuilt her strength. By the end of 2021, she was even able to wear heels again. Still, she admitted that the leg never fully regained its old strength. Just when it seemed like life was returning to normal, another frightening moment arrived 2 years later. In September 2023, Brooke Shields was preparing for a one-woman show at Café Carlyle in New York City. She was rehearsing constantly and pushing her voice harder than ever because the show involved a lot of singing. To stay hydrated, she drank large amounts of water every day. She thought she was doing the healthy thing. What she did not realize was that the extreme amount of water was slowly washing sodium out of her body. The condition is called hyponatremia, and it can become very dangerous. One evening, she left home to meet friends for dinner at the restaurant L'Artusi. She already felt a little strange, but assumed she was just tired from rehearsals. Inside the restaurant, 2 people approached her to say hello. In the middle of the conversation, something sudden happened. Her vision went dark. Her hands suddenly lost strength and her body went stiff. A full grand mal seizure began, and she collapsed face first into a wall. Her body started convulsing violently. Witnesses saw her turning blue while foam appeared around her mouth. At one point, her tongue nearly blocked her airway. She later woke up inside an ambulance with oxygen on her face. When she opened her eyes, she saw someone sitting beside her, holding her hand. It was Bradley Cooper. Her husband, Chris Henchy, had been trying to reach her and could not. so an assistant called Cooper, who rushed over. She later joked that she woke up thinking she had walked in with Jesus. But in that moment, she honestly believed she might be dying. At the hospital, doctors ran urgent tests and pumped fluids through IV lines while monitoring her brain activity. They feared the seizure might have caused serious damage. Eventually, they discovered the real cause. Her sodium levels had dropped dangerously low because she had been drinking too much water. Doctors told her the solution was surprisingly simple. She needed to eat more salt. One doctor even joked that she should start eating potato chips every day. But the hospital stay was still miserable. Tubes used during treatment caused bronchitis, and the entire experience brought back painful memories from the femur injury in 2021. Flashbacks of the fall began to hit her again. At one point, she screamed in frustration and admitted something deeply honest. She said she could not keep pushing through everything anymore. To make matters worse, some doctors misunderstood the situation and assumed she had been avoiding salt to stay thin. The idea made her furious. She snapped back that people always assume women are obsessed with looking skinny. After leaving the hospital, she started changing how she lived. She stopped pushing herself in the gym the same way and began focusing more on Pilates and overall health instead of appearance. The experience also pushed her to speak more openly about the hidden health struggles many women deal with. That openness became even stronger when she began writing her memoir. In her 2025 book, Brooke Shields Is Not Allowed to Get Old, she revealed a story that shocked many readers. Years earlier, when she was in her 40s, she had been dealing with a painful issue that had followed her since high school. Her labia were unusually large and caused constant discomfort. Wearing jeans could hurt. Exercising could hurt. Even simple movement could cause chafing. After years of dealing with the problem, she finally spoke with her gynecologist. The doctor suggested a labia reduction procedure. It was described as cosmetic, and insurance would not cover it. Brooke even joked at the time that she was not trying to become a porn star. She simply wanted relief from the discomfort. The doctor referred her to a respected plastic surgeon in Beverly Hills. Trusting the recommendation, she agreed to the surgery. The procedure lasted 4 hours, and she went under anesthesia, believing the operation would only address the specific issue she had discussed. When she returned for a follow-up appointment, the surgeon casually mentioned something that left her stunned. He told her he had added a little bonus during the operation. Without asking her or getting her permission, he had also performed a vaginal tightening procedure. He described it proudly, almost like a gift. He even referred to it as a 2-for-1 deal. Brooke Shields sat there shocked. She felt completely violated. She later described the experience as a strange kind of invasion that felt deeply wrong. When she drove home, she began realizing her body had been changed in ways she never agreed to. Her gynecologist was also furious when she heard what happened, but Brooke chose not to take legal action. At the time, she feared the tabloids would turn the story into headlines about her private body. For years, she kept the experience mostly to herself. Now, at 59, she speaks about it openly and calls it one of the most disturbing betrayals she has ever faced. That betrayal was not the only painful memory she shared. Her marriage to tennis star Andre Agassi also carried moments that revealed the darker side of fame. They married in 1997 after a long on-and-off relationship. At the time, the public saw them as a glamorous power couple. Behind the scenes, things were far more complicated. Agassi later admitted in his own memoir that he had been secretly using crystal meth during those years. The drug fueled mood swings and paranoia. One moment that exploded into chaos involved Brooke's appearance on the TV show Friends in 1996. She played a fictional version of herself who had a crush on Joey, played by Matt LeBlanc. In one playful scene, she flirted with him and jokingly licked chocolate off his fingers. It was meant to be harmless comedy. But when the episode aired, Agassi was watching alone. He became furious. When Brooke returned home, he stormed into the house yelling that everyone was making a fool of him. In a fit of rage, he began smashing his own tennis trophies. The same trophies that represented the biggest victories of his career were thrown across the room and shattered. Brooke stood there, begging him to stop. She could not believe what she was seeing. Later, she connected the outburst to the drug addiction he had been hiding. Their marriage eventually ended in divorce in 1999. Looking back, Brooke began noticing a pattern that stretched all the way back to her childhood. Her life had been shaped by objectification since she was very young. In 1978, she starred in the film Pretty Baby at only 11 years old, playing a child prostitute. The role included nude scenes that sparked massive controversy. Even before that, she had been pushed into modeling as a baby by her mother after her parents divorced. At age 10, a photographer took nude photos of her in a bathtub for a publication connected to Playboy Press. When her family tried to stop the photos from being sold, lawyers argued in court that she was already seen as a provocative child. The case was lost, and the photos remained in circulation. As she grew older, the media continued to focus on her body. Interviews often asked her uncomfortable questions about sex and virginity while she was still a teenager. The image followed her through films like The Blue Lagoon and shaped how people saw her for decades. By the time she wrote her memoir, she realized many painful experiences shared the same root. Whether it was the unauthorized surgery, the media obsession with her body, or the anger from partners who treated her like property, the pattern kept repeating. Today, Brooke Shields speaks openly about aging and the pressure placed on women to fight it. She criticizes the culture that tells women their value fades after 50. Instead, she says aging has given her something she never had when she was younger: clarity. She now focuses on strength and health rather than chasing a younger image. She tells her daughters, Rowan and Greer, that self-respect matters far more than chasing perfection. After decades of being watched, judged, and controlled, she has finally taken back her own story. And for the first time in her life, she feels like the person telling it is truly her.